Good morning. My name is Kim Sunday, and I work in Amway's marketing department, and it's my pleasure to come to you live from Amway's world headquarters here in Ada. This morning, I'm going to be facilitating a conversation between you, our friends on Facebook, and Amway President, Doug DeVos. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kim. How you doing?
Great. How are you? Happy Monday.
Great. Thank you. Happy Monday to you, too.
Perfect. So we are here to talk about one of everyone at Amway's favorite things, the Asia Report.
Absolutely.
So I'm very, very excited. So friends, I do want to remind you that I'm facilitating the conversation between you and Doug. So please send your questions. I have this iPad here, and I'm happy to ask him any questions that you might have. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be sharing some findings from Amway's Global Entrepreneurship Report.
Sure.
Now, Doug, it's the 7th year of the report.
Yes.
Very, very exciting. Would you like to talk about how you feel about that?
Sure. First of all, doing this report is something that's right. That feels so good for us to dive in. We've grown up in the Amway business, and we've always thought about entrepreneurship in real positive terms. We've lived it in our whole life, and a while ago, it just seemed to make sense. Let's study this. We can't be the only ones. The Amway business has continued to grow over the years. More and more people join us. But let's get a little more knowledgeable about what's really going on. What are some of the underlying themes or trends behind the entrepreneurial spirit that's happening around the world? We continue to believe it's alive and well and it's strong. And let's dive in and check it out. So we've had a great time over the years validating a lot of things that we kind of just believed or assumed or lived with, and then exploring and learning a little bit more. So it's been a great adventure.
So, you have been our president for quite some time now, and I'd love for you to tell our friends here on Facebook why we do the report. Why is it important?
Well, it's important so that we can put some science behind what we talk about, so we can add to it. We know, like I was saying earlier, that we feel very positive about entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial spirit, but we're not alone. It's almost universal around the world, the positive feelings that people have. Over 77% of the respondents this year, and this year there were over 50,000 respondents from countries all over the world, responded very, very positively. They like the idea. It's something that resonates with people. So it's easy to have a good conversation with people about it. So when we talked about the Amway business opportunity, we have to understand the confidence we can have that people will be interested in the subject. May not be interested in Amway, they may not be ready for it at this time in their life, but at least it would be an interesting subject for us to know and to be knowledgeable when we talk about it.
It's funny that you say that. So I travel a lot, you travel a lot, we have a global business here.
Right.
And anytime I tell someone that I work at Amway, they want to talk to me about entrepreneurship, about business. They really want to understand. They consider us to be experts. So I would love for you to maybe tell our friends, what did you find to be the most interesting thing in this year's report?
Well, I tell you, usually you find things that are the most interesting go back to the things that we like the best. People are really, really positive about it. Things we've been saying for years. Why would I want to get into? Why would I want to start my own business? I want to be independent. I want to chart my own course. I want to go my own way. Those themes continue to be really strong drivers inside the report, and I think we're also seeing those play out in new ways in the marketplace today. The gig economy, the opportunities that people have using technology to start businesses of their own, the work environment is changing. Even inside a big company like Amway, we change the way we work because of technology and tools. It allows us to be entrepreneurial and innovative inside a big company. And so I think there's a lot of applications for this entrepreneurial spirit, but basically, the positive attitude, the independence, having a business of your own is still very relevant, very interesting. You're seeing it play out, and more people could see themselves doing it. I think that's probably a shift in the past where people would be liking it and be interested, but I think things would hold them back, where now we're starting to see, probably because of the gig economy, more demonstrations of how this plays out in the marketplace, where more and more people say, hey, I think I could do that. Maybe even not now, maybe in 5 years. So having more and more people think that maybe they could do it then.
Well, I'm excited to report to you that we have viewers coming in from the UK, from Ireland, from Vietnam. So I think that's actually a really nice segue to ask you the question, what do you think in terms of entrepreneurship? Why is it important to the world?
Well, it has an impact. I mean, every every politician, talks about jobs and the economy and here's what we need to do. Every citizen is interested in prosperity. People want to work, not just for a paycheck. We're just wired with a way to do something. We want to advance ourselves. We want to be productive. We want to just interact with people. It's a great environment to do those sorts of things. So I think when you understand how the economy works and you look at all these big companies around the world, whether you like big business or you don't like big business, they were all small businesses at one point.
That's true.
They all had to start somewhere. Someone had an idea, and they found a customer base, and they found a way that customers were interested in that product. Some of the biggest companies today are some of the most innovative, created, and relatively recent startups. And so the entrepreneurial spirit, what happens is it brings not only jobs and economic prosperity, but it brings huge improvements in products and services that we don't even know we need. The stories are always, I never really expected or even asked for a phone on my camera, but now I can't live without it. And those are the things that entrepreneurs see. They see an opening or a gap in the marketplace and they fill it, and we didn't even know we were interested. But the overall impact, and the reason it is so important, is because that entrepreneurial spirit, those new businesses, new, small, medium-sized businesses, are truly the backbone of any economy. They truly provide employment. They truly provide solutions for the marketplace or consumers. They truly are the foundation and the backbone of any economy. And so the entrepreneurial spirit and people dreaming and thinking about new opportunities and better ways to do things, that's what helps our world move forward.
Well, I think your answer is very inspirational, and I think that many of our viewers on Facebook are responding to it. So good. Dean from Norway is asking you, in terms of skills, what are the skills that entrepreneurs need?
Boy, the skills come from a whole bunch of backgrounds, and that's one of the pieces that we talk in the report about. How do you learn this? I think in the past, a lot of people would say, well, either you're born with it or you're not born with it. But I think the research is starting to show that there are things that we can do to develop the skills of an entrepreneur, of developing better products, of developing better services and ways to operate, and how you can run an organization, connecting with other people to demonstrate a product or demonstrate an idea and be able to show it. Technology helps you show it a lot. So there are some skills like that come out of the report from an educational standpoint, or that we can do as a society. But the other skills that are a little more traditional are the drive that you have inside, are taking a risks. You can't teach that. You either feel it, you can help people understand so they can moderate the risk and have better confidence that they can go forward with the risk. So it's those things inside, determination to do something different, to set out on your own, that desire, as I said earlier, for independence, having your own business, and your ability to relate with people. One of the things we also found is a lot of times people say, well, I'm scared of getting customers. I don't want to talk to people. I want to work on my product, but I don't want to get customers. We found a lot of people around the world say, I have no problem doing that. Of course we have to get customers. That's what business is all about. We're always getting customers. And so some of the maybe traditional fears really aren't there as much as we would think they would be. So I think the summary would be the things inside, those are some of the skills that you need, and really asking the question, being involved, engaged in the conversation is a huge first step. And then working your way through. The other side, trial and error. You're going to do some things that don't work. Figure it out. Find a solution. Do it again, but never stop trying.
That's perfect. So this May, you and I had the opportunity to go to London, and we were there with our Founders Council leaders, which for me is kind of like Christmas. It was one of my favorite times of being here at Amway, because you have the opportunity to meet so many business owners. They're all very different people from very different countries, but I do feel like many of them have commonalities, and you travel the world. So I would love for you to maybe talk to our friends on Facebook about some of the characteristics or skills that make a successful entrepreneur.
One of the things that strikes me and I remember the most, it's the attitudes. it's a positive attitude. And there was a story many years ago in the local newspaper here, so it had to be years ago if it was in a newspaper. And it articulated that there was a person in the area here who had created a new invention, and it was becoming popular. He had patented it, and it was a nice story. And in the story, the interviewer asked, well, it must have been tough as you were going through this process. People said, no, it took you a long time. You must have had iterations of your invention that failed. Now, how'd you get through it? And the person said, well, I did have all those roadblocks and all those challenges. He goes, but my parents were in the Amway business. And he goes, I grew up with that Amway, you can do it attitude. So no matter what challenge I faced, I knew if I just kept working hard enough, I'd find my way through it and I'd get to the other side. And so those are I think, attitude, that drive inside, that ability to look through a challenge and accept a challenge as a learning experience, but to say it's not going to stop me. I'm not going to be stuck. I'm not going to let this hold me back from pursuing a goal or from moving forward, because you're going to have challenges. We have challenges all the time around here. It's life, but we can learn from them. And I think the key skill when we look at leaders in the Amway business, that they've overcome challenges. They didn't take shortcuts. They didn't do something fancy. They didn't find something completely new. They just kept working step by step by step towards their goals. And they had enough belief in themselves and their goals to keep going.
I think that's true. One of the other things that I think sets Amway apart from other businesses is really the mentorship that our business provides. And I would love for you to talk to our Facebook friends just about the important role that having a business mentor can play in an entrepreneur's life.
Well, it's vital. I mean, in life, it's vital to have a mentor, right? I mean, that's so many programs for kids who are in tough situations always are talking about you need to be connected to a mentor. And it's the leadership example that is vital. Just being around people who have done things, who have looked at the world a little different than the way I may look at it. So, and entrepreneurs can, or even mentors in a way, can come in different shapes and sizes. So we had a recent, just last week, we were in San Francisco with an industry group that I lead, and we visited some of the Silicon Valley companies. We had a quick visit to Apple and Facebook, and we talked to some entrepreneurs and how they look at the world and the things that they do. They may not be a mentor. I don't know them that well or to be able to dive that much into it, but having that interaction gave me ideas and different thoughts and perspectives. And so I think we can find mentors in a variety of ways because you can see their example, you can see what they do, and you can find a connection to them. In the Amway business, we're blessed because those mentors are there for you. They are there to help you through. They serve as a leadership example. And if you're facing something, chances are they have faced either that exact same challenge or something very similar. And so it becomes a hugely important aspect of the Amway business to have real people that are available to you, and not only available to you, it's in their best interest to help you because it's our values, it's what we do, and it's how the business is built. It's built by helping other people be successful. Exactly. And the leaders of Amway are most successful because they've helped the most people become successful at whatever level of success they choose, of course. So I think the role of mentorship is a critical element, and I would expand the view of mentorship. It's certainly somebody you can be close to and work with, but I would expand it that you can get ideas and you can connect in a maybe unique way, even if it's only one interaction with somebody who could be a mentor to you if you let them impact your thinking just a little bit and say, hey, I could do this a little differently, or I could think about this a little differently. I find those sorts of interactions very helpful personally.
I agree. And I mean, just the openness that you tend to see from entrepreneurs as well. Okay, friends.
Yeah, entrepreneurs are happy to talk about it.
They don't have a problem talking. All right, well, friends, keep the questions coming. I really appreciate them. So, Doug, our next question actually comes from Puerto Rico. One of the things that we hear again and again and again is that people like the flexibility that entrepreneurship provides. And so Ricardo from Puerto Rico would like to know, do you have any advice for him as he's trying to manage his business and his studies? He's a university student.
Sure. Well, the advice that I have kind of comes from my father years ago, and in life you got to do two things. And there's another leader when I started in the Amway. Actually, all of us in our family, the Vanando family, we signed up in the business. We were IBOs and ABOs and distributors, the different terms we use. We did that, had that experience, and there was a leader who said. He said, "Don't quit your job to do that. That's not how it works." He goes, when you're doing that part of the of your training in Amway, you have to work, because everybody has to balance work, studies, starting their own business. It's life, making that happen. And then the other side is something that my dad told me that he and Jay always talked about. He said, the first 40 hours a week that you work, that's what you work to kind of get by. Mm-hmm. It's the next 40 hours a week that you work is what you do to get ahead. And so to a certain extent, we're wired to work. We're wired to do things as humans, I believe. And you have to kind of work it into the life that you want. So the studying, it's a 24/7 lifestyle. The studying that you have, the time or recreation that you need, but then the work that you want to put in to building your business as well. That balance is a critical element. But I think the thing is, if your belief is strong enough and your desire is strong enough, you'll find the time to make that balance work. Sometimes we say if you have a really big, challenging project, give it to the busiest person, because they're usually the ones who can figure out how to get things done. And so nobody's afraid of working. Right. Don't be afraid of taking that time, but be very thoughtful. And when you go through it, when you have a goal out there that you're working towards, that's what makes your work satisfying. And so stick with it and keep taking those steps forward.
Perfect. So we have viewers coming in now from South Africa, from Australia, from Italy and Greece. So thank you to our global viewership.
Welcome.
We're really happy to have you joining us here in Ada. Our next question comes from Australia, and it's from a millennial. And I think one of the things that we tend to see is that young people have a lot more appetite for risk.
Sure.
So any advice that you would give to a millennial interested in starting a business?
Well, absolutely. I would say go with it. You've grown up in an environment where there's much more of an entrepreneurial experience as you look around you. You've seen technology. There's things that in my life I took for granted when I grew up and could almost constrain my thinking. But as you're younger, you've seen fewer constraints. You've always been able to have a phone with you and to talk to anyone around the world. You've always been able to live in a world of connectivity and being able to communicate freely and be able to see the world in a new light. You've always been able to do that. Where some of us, when we're a little bit older, that's a new thing, so we have to think a little bit differently to get there. So the feelings that I would have are embrace that world. Embrace that ability to find different aspects of interest for you that can drive you forward and that can keep you going with the entrepreneurial spirit. And so, as an example, a lot of times in a corporate setting, the older folks like me would say, well, people don't stay in their job as much anymore. They kind of go here, they go there, they move from one thing to the next a little more quickly. And that's because of the environment that younger people have tended to grow up in. That moving around is fine. It's not disloyal. You're just looking for new experiences or the better experience, or you're looking to advance. That's entrepreneurial in its own way. And that when something doesn't meet what you want to accomplish or what you want to achieve, you're free. You have the confidence to take another step and to take that risk and do something different, where perhaps in generations before, when you would grow up, we were more risk averse. We didn't have the range of opportunities. That's why. It wasn't that our thinking was bad. It just was a different world that we grew up in. And so I think managing risk, thinking about risk, making positive decisions about what opportunities and options you may have in your life and in your future is exactly what you're here for. And the response we have, the younger people tend to have a much more positive view of entrepreneurship, a much higher level of interest. So they view it positively. They have a higher level of interest, and they could see themselves doing it. And so stay confident and move your way forward. It'll be a great adventure for you.
That is a nice segue. So one of my very favorite things about you is that you are always positive. And I think that is anytime.
There's a lot to be positive about, right?
That's true, but I think that your attitude is just always inspirational. And so when I look at the Ager study, over the last 7 years, we have seen that consistently. People have been very positive about entrepreneurship.
Sure.
Yet it's probably the toughest job you'll ever love. Could you talk a little bit about why do you believe that entrepreneurs are so positive? I mean, I even think about your family, you know? I mean, like starts and stops and starts and stops.
Sure.
And I mean, why are entrepreneurs so positive, and why do you believe that people have been so positive throughout the 7 years of this as we've surveyed them?
Sure. I loved your comment, the hardest work you'll ever love. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. It's because you're really following your passion. You're doing the things that you want to do. You're interacting with people. And even though many people, especially in the Amway business, would kind of start with a feeling of saying, I'm introverted, I don't like to speak, I don't want to get customers. These are the people who have done all of those things wonderfully well, and they're incredibly successful because they love what they do. They really do love people. There may be some risk or maybe some fears associated with it, but they have a goal and they're working towards it, and they're willing to overcome those fears or address those fears or those things that might hold them back. But it becomes really more around what you love and what you want to do. And so it is the hardest work you'll ever love. But when you love it, you never work a day in your life. You wake up thinking about it and enjoying it, and you find common people who get together. They enjoy the same sorts of thing. I'm reminded a little bit when my children would go to university, and at one of the orientations they said, you never feel alone at this university. There are clubs for everything. And so look at the list. There's over 200 clubs at this university. And if there's a club that doesn't fit for you, start your own.
Right. That's true.
Start your own. Find 2 or 3 people who share the same interests as you, and get together and talk about those things that are important to you, that you enjoy talking about, whatever it may be. And so I find in the context that when you're staying positive, or when you're with people that are doing the same things you enjoy, it's easy to be positive, even though you work through challenges. Some of the more interesting experiences I have are when something's really, really challenging, but when you work through it together with a group of people like mentors or other colleagues and friends, it becomes a badge of honor that you found your way through, rather than something that completely shut you off from achieving your goals.
That is awesome. Thank you for that answer.
Sure.
Stuart.
Thank you for the question.
So now we have a question from the UK, one of your favorite places, I know.
Of course.
So,
I lived there for a couple years. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So Stuart from the UK, he's an ABO, and he would like you to help him think about the balance that he needs to strike between sponsoring and selling.
Sure.
Which is a unique Amway problem.
It is unique to Amway, but it's been there since the beginning. And you hit the right balance, or hit the right point with the question. It's balance. You do both. And whenever you become unbalanced, if you're all you're doing is sponsoring, you're never going to build enough volume to make the profitability that you need. And on the other side, if all you do is selling, that's great, and you'll build a profitability, but there's a somewhat of a natural limit by the time that you're spending and what you can do. So Dad and Jay always talked about a balance. There's a balance between selling and sponsoring. And what they found is a pretty simple formula. You sell, you talk to people, you get them interested in the product, and then they become interested in the opportunity. So then you can sponsor. You can do both with the same person as well. Maybe you sequence it differently. You do it over a period of time. Other balance issues in the business is you balance out width and depth. It's always fun to help somebody. They find somebody, they get a contact, and you see some people just really drive depth, but they don't have any width. They haven't found their own contacts. Well, again, balance is key to be able to sponsor your own, develop your own contacts so you have a good, nice, wide, strong base. Because when you have a good width and good depth, certainly drive that too. But when you balance these things out, you get a stronger, more sustainable, more profitable business. And so I would encourage you to kind of find a formula in there, look at the plan a little bit, talk to your upline or your sales team at the company about where that balance is and what would be best for you and where you are. And if you find yourself unbalanced a little bit in one way, well, set a goal and get it balanced, balance it back up and find it the other way. But you have to have customers and to really build a business of your own, you need to sponsor people as well. So, but it's a balance, and we as a company or leaders get in trouble when you take it. Primarily if you go too far on the sponsoring side, and that's all you're presenting. That's really a challenge, because there has to be the teaching of the substance behind it, of products. Here I am in Ada, just across the street from the studio where we are. All of our manufacturing facilities, all the people who just R&D facilities are just down the hall. The product support and the commitment that we have to product quality and innovation is second to none. It's massive. It's well received in the marketplace all the time, and so it's a natural. And sometimes I think some of the simplest, easiest lessons come from what Dad and Jay did and what people did in the beginning. Those really don't change over time. You sell the product, and then you find people who like the product. You sell another product. Usually they might be interested in becoming joining the business or seeing the business opportunity and saying, well, if I like this product and you sold it to me, I might be able to sell it to somebody and start a business of my own as well. So that's kind of a simple formula, but balance is key.
Well, you're becoming more and more popular. We've got people from Lithuania, Norway,
wonderful.
Denmark.
Thanks for joining us.
Miami.
They're the popular ones. You're the popular ones. Good for you. Thank you.
So thank you for joining us, and please continue to send Doug your questions on entrepreneurship. I think this is such a unique and exciting opportunity for you, our friends, and our EBOs to actually ask him questions that you might wonder or want the answer to. So I want to go back to the age report just for a second here.
Okay.
And one of the things that we noticed in this year's report was that people have no problem seeking and acquiring customers.
Sure.
Does that surprise you at all?
It really doesn't, because I've always felt that the fear around that was made up, because everyone sells in every business and every day. You go for a job interview, you're selling your skills and what your passions for what you want to do. If you're going on a date, you're selling, right? If you want to meet people, you're selling yourself in that sort of a way. I think it comes down to then the ability and the confidence that you have with the product that you're selling. And I did find that very not surprising, but encouraging, that people understand that selling is a critical part of any entrepreneurial venture. It just has to happen. Some of the strongest, biggest leaders that you would know around the world, they're constantly selling. Some of the global business leaders that you've known or I've had a chance to see or meet, they're always talking about their business. They're always talking about what they're thinking. They're always talking about what they're doing, because they're living their product, they're living their service, they're living their business opportunity, and it just starts to come natural. And we should not segment it out or call it out or give it any reason to be fearful, or for us to be fearful of selling. And so I think that's a great confidence builder, because you can't have a business without selling product. You can't have an Amway business without selling product. And so you have to make friends with that, and to see that it comes through strongly, to say, this is not a barrier. This doesn't hold you back. So if you've had that fear or that thought or that concern, take heart that it can be overcome, that there's lots of people who see selling in a positive light, who certainly see themselves doing it. And if they can do it, you can do it too.
So entrepreneurship is one of my favorite things to talk about, because as we've
both
said, it just generates such positivity.
Right.
And when you look at the Ager report, are you at all surprised by the fact that the trend remains positive? I mean, I feel like the report itself really correlates to what Amway has to offer as a business opportunity.
Sure. So it's kind of funny, as we, so we've been doing the report, 2008, right? Mm-hmm. And we kind of started with that feeling of believing that people agreed with us around the world, but to see the report come through and have it validated so powerfully and so strongly, that and so consistently over the years, that those ideas are real. And as we've asked more and more people, as we've gone more and more in depth, that the entrepreneurial spirit around the world is strong. Now, it varies in different markets. Some tend to be a little stronger than others because of the circumstances that are going on. It generally kind of correlates to how positive they feel about the future in some ways or another. But overall, it's a very a strong message that the research has given us to validate everything about what we're talking about with the entrepreneurial spirit and its connection into Amway. So it becomes this entrepreneurial ecosystem, and to a certain extent, when people find their passion and they move forward with an entrepreneurial idea, we celebrate. Sometimes it's a little frustrating because they started to get that real entrepreneurial bug inside Amway and then they leave to go start something else. But that's okay. If we were a part of helping the process, we should be proud of that and be happy with that. And then challenge ourselves to say, okay, what can we do to help more people join and find their entrepreneurial goals being met with the Amway business? How can we be more in tune, and how can we be a better organization, and how can we work better together with all of us to enhance and make that happen? And so those are some of the things that we really need to continue to build on. But I think the report just continues to validate everything that we've thought about and that we've believed.
Which is nice, right? To be so excited about something and then to have it validated globally.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on that point, I go to a lot of conferences with executives from different businesses where you run into people. It's amazing how many of them are interested to talk to me about Amway and how many of them have an Amway experience. I learned this in Amway when I was young. I learned this in Amway. Now but I pursued this career. I made money to get myself through college, and then I did this. I made enough money here. I had family that was in the business, so I touched it, I saw it, I felt it, I saw the positivity. So I set a goal for myself. I learned goal-setting skills, and I learned these other sorts of skills from my Amway experience. And we should be very, very proud of that. And we should be confident when talking to people about the Amway business opportunity that this can be for them. It may not be. They may want to go somewhere else, but if we can have a role of helping them get there, then we should be comfortable with that too. That we're part of this ecosystem because it's going to help. It's going to help more and more people. Mm-hmm. We're into that.
I always tell my husband, I say, Amway is the greatest global business school because there are people everywhere.
You're right.
And they've all learned something from Amway. You never meet someone who doesn't tell you, I've learned this from my Amway business experience or just an interaction with an ABO.
Absolutely.
So, question from Sammy, who's an ABO.
All right,
She's
Sammy.
Just starting out. Hi, Sammy. Thank you very much for your question. And other ABOs, if you have questions or friends or media, please send them in. She'd like to know, what's your advice for someone just starting a business?
Well, just starting, get started. Do the basics. If you're just getting started in the business, just make sure you set up the time, that you set goals, modest goals, things that you can do step by step, consistent goals. What are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do the next day? And don't be discouraged by any time when you've missed a goal or when you took a step backwards. This is a simple business. The Amway business is a simple business, but it's not easy. And you have to have the determination to set those goals and then work hard to achieve them. But most of the success that we've experienced or watched around the world is when people just keep taking the other step even after a setback. And so the modest steps, find some customers. Talk to those customers and see if they're interested in the business opportunity. Talk to your upline, leaders and mentors that you have in your organization to learn some of the skills, to learn some of the things that you can do. Recognize that there's no magic shortcut. It's you just have to go forward. So many people get distracted of, well, I don't want to do it that way. I'm going to do it this way or that way. Well, there's no proven path. I mean, those shortcuts really aren't shortcuts. They just kind of lead you off the track. Stick with the simple things, sell products, sponsor people, as we said earlier, do it in a balanced fashion, and work towards building income. Set that goal of whatever it is, very modest in the first month or in the second month or in the third month. Set the goal, keep it around the profitability, and understand what you need to do to make money in the Amway business. And again, lots of people to help you. Your uplines and mentors can help you, friends of the company, and all the resources of Amway are around to help you. There's people to talk to, people who can help you down that path. But get started, and congratulations. Good luck. You can do it. You can do it. That's how it works. Everybody started just like you. I'll elaborate on that,
Yeah,
Sammy?
please.
Every leader started just like you. There were no special deals. Nobody got ahead when they started in Amway, ever. They all started the same way. And in the early days, a lot of people would approach Dad and Jay and say, well, I'm a professional salesman, so I'm sure you've got a special deal for me. And they'd always say, no, we don't. Find somebody in Amway, let them sponsor you, and get started. So that's how it works. And so everybody who's been successful has asked the same question that you've asked, and they've answered it by taking those steps forward. So you can do it too.
I think that's really inspirational to hear, especially as we are fast approaching our 60th anniversary.
Yeah.
When you think about the road to the 60th, what are you most excited about?
Well, I'm most excited that that this is a business that is sustainable. A few years ago, at the 50th anniversary, actually, Steve and I, with a management group, looked at the 10 biggest companies in the United States 50 years ago. So in 1959, what were the 10 biggest companies in the United States? We realized that after 50 years, 4 of those companies ceased to exist. They were gone. And so that always makes you think, oh, wow, we have to challenge ourselves all the time to be ahead of our competition, to be relevant in the marketplace, to be willing to improve and look at ourselves to say, what can we do better? Every day. And so as we look at the 60th, it's another adventure of moving forward. Look what's happened in those years, the good and the challenges that have come about, but the sustainability and the strength of the Amway business remains. And it is connected to this report. It's connected to the entrepreneurial spirit of people like you that are making a decision to start a business of your own and joining us here at Amway. And so having another anniversary and a reason to celebrate those accomplishments is great. But the key, I think, is that when Steve and I do it, we don't just do it from a corporate perspective. Those celebrations are from your perspective. They're the platinums and the diamonds who have built their own businesses. Amway just becomes a collection of your business. We just get a chance to kind of pull it all together and support you. But it's really a celebration of you. And as we went through the 50th, we found a lot of next generation, which was just so fun. How many families not only started with somebody with an entrepreneurial spirit, but it became a family thing. And you've seen next generation pick things up, start their own businesses, join with their parents, join with their family. And I think we're seeing even more and more of that as we get a little bit older. And that's just a joy, as we're a family business, to understand that throughout Amway, there are so many family businesses. We love it.
That's awesome.
And so we're excited. We're looking forward to the 60th very, very much.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, we have some viewers coming in now from, let's see here, Colombia, Guatemala, South Korea, all over the world. So wonderful. Thank you, viewers, and please
thank you for joining us. Yes.
So we have a question from Mexico. Our viewer would like to know, Aaron from Mexico would like to know, what do you see as the future in LATAM in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, Latin America is a dynamic marketplace, and certainly for the Amway business, incredibly strong. We have great momentum happening there. Again, our products are well received. Our industry, method of operation is well received from a direct selling standpoint, and the Amway business is well received. So when you look to the future, for me, I tend to look at or think through the building blocks that we're going to be doing, tomorrow, next month, this year. What are the building blocks that we're going to put in place so that as the market develops and as the market grows in the future, we're there, we're prepared, and we're strong to be able to be part of that marketplace. And the foundation to me is so strong because it's really hard to predict exactly where the market's going to be in 5 years. So if we keep being strong and building that foundation, if it moves one way or the other a little bit, we'll have a foundation strong enough to find it and be there with it. To me, taking advantage of the full advantage of the opportunities that the future presents are to make sure you're strong today and that you do the right things today. And the stronger we are today will make us stronger to be able and to be prepared to take advantage of the opportunities of the future. So don't wait. I would say start working today with a tremendous amount of confidence. It's been our experience around the world that that markets develop, opportunities get bigger, they strengthen, they may move a little bit. So we have to work in the environment we have today, make ourselves as strong as possible, and then we can be flexible to move back and forth. Again, if you go in our history, we started as a home care company with selling soaps and detergents and those sorts of things. And it went on to personal care, body shampoos and things of that nature. And then in the 70s, we needed a nutritional line. So we went back to Nutrilite, brought Nutrilite in. We started Artistry Cosmetics. We expanded our product line. We did things because of the way the market was developing. We started to move to markets around the world. But we did it from a base, because every day, Dad and Jay and so many others would start their day thinking about what can we do to be better now, and that's what's going to prepare us for the future.
Mm-hmm. That is a wonderful segue. So I want to move back to the Amway Global Entrepreneurship Report for just one moment.
I keep taking you off track. No. I'm sorry about that.
I'm probably not helping because I love entrepreneurship as much as you. But when we look at the report, one of the big trends is the education gap. And university students tend to typically be a little bit more positive about entrepreneurship, yet they don't tend to start businesses to the degree that maybe someone without a college degree does. Do you think a college degree is necessary to be a successful entrepreneur?
No, absolutely not. And I get that from my father, who did not have a college degree. And it's really...
He's probably watching.
It's right. It's unique. It's unique, isn't it? That you would tend to think that people pursuing education to that level are pursuing something very specific work or practice, be a doctor or lawyer or some other field of study that's important that you need to pursue, or if you're in general studies, to pursue and get a job. But I think it shows a couple things, that more education and more time in pursuing or thinking about what you want to do in the future opens up doors for yourself. Opens up opportunities, gets you to think in new ways, to go, okay, I'm learning these things, but now I'm seeing that I don't have to necessarily go to work. I could start my own business. I could be a little entrepreneurial, or I'm going to go to work. I'm going to learn some skills. I'm going to learn this area of interest that I have even more, and then I'm going to break out and start something on my own or see that opportunity. But that can start with an education or without an education, or it can start with an education down the track. I think we don't want to limit ourselves to think sequentially. Okay, you go to in the U.S. version, you go to your school, and you go to high school, and then you go to college, and then you get your degree and you go to work. It's a very nice sequence, and it's pretty traditional. But why not go to work earlier? Why not go to work and then take college at night? Why not do it a little bit differently? Why not earn a little money or earn a degree? And we've said to people locally here in the West Michigan area, when we deal with business groups, we find people are very willing to train you if you have interest, even if you don't have a specific degree. Maybe they will even help you get a certification in that area. And so there's a range of options. So while the study shows that those who pursue education have a more positive and more of an interest and see themselves more as starting a business of their own, I think we need to dig into that a little deeper and have further conversations, that perhaps it's just those that have been thinking a little bit more about it and that have had the opportunity to expand their thinking about it beyond just the education itself. I mean, obviously education is critical in this process, but there's so many ways to gain education. Getting a job, the things I've learned here, just from the people that I've worked with beyond my education, have helped me tremendously. And we can never stop learning. We've never learned it all. And so really formal education may start and stop or end with a degree or with an accomplishment, but the spirit of education, the spirit of learning, the spirit of being curious, that never should stop. We should always be thinking about that. So why do people do it like that? That works pretty good. Why do I do it that way and I don't get the result, but somebody else does it that way and they get a better result? Maybe I'll change. Maybe I'll adjust because I want to improve. I want to be better. And so I think that's a critical topic, but we need to expand and dive into that probably in next year's study. And that's what we do, is we uncover these things in the studies. We kind of dive into explore even more about that. So I found that as a very interesting finding, and that we'll have to explore to talk about a little bit more as we go forward.
So you heard it here first. In 2017, we'll be exploring that deeper, so stay tuned. So.
Well, and my main point, I don't want anybody to think that if you didn't have an education, that's a barrier that you can't overcome.
Look at your father.
That's my biggest thing. It's a fact, it's a point, but it's not a barrier that you can't overcome. It's just a little bit of a gap. So fill the gap.
And I think so much of what we've discussed this morning is really positivity and passion are the things that you truly need to be successful.
Sure. And but you're always, that's a start. You always need to build your skill sets. You always need to keep building on that and moving forward as well. But it's a lot of things, like we said. It's the skills that you learn, but it's the skills that you also have developed in yourself.
Yes, I agree. So we have a viewer from Vietnam. Thank you also for all of the questions that you're sending. We really are loving to hear what you're interested in, and thank you. Please keep the questions coming.
Keep them coming. We're great. We'll keep talking.
So we have a friend from Vietnam, and as you know from the report, Vietnam had the second highest result for positivity towards starting a business.
Right.
And so this ABO would like to know, what do you see as the future for Vietnam?
Well, Vietnam is a dynamic, growing economy, and it's going to have tremendous potential. It's going to have a lot of opportunities and challenges. There's going to be some, missteps or some things happening as the market gets going and as it gets going forward that you're going to need to be prepared for. So it's not always going to be perfect and rosy, and things don't just grow on a linear basis. You don't just start and it just keeps going perfectly. There's going to be ups and downs, even though the general trend is certainly, in my opinion, going to be positive. Having visited Vietnam a number of times and just being in the marketplace, in that environment, you see the determination, the hard work of the Vietnamese people, and you just know it has a very, very bright future that is going to move forward very strongly and very well. But it may not be linear. It's not going to be a straight line. It'll have some shifts. So I would go back to say, prepare yourself for the environment you're in today. Build a strong business today, and so that you can generally be part of that movement forward. But be prepared, so if it shifts a little one way or the other, you're able to shift with the marketplace as it develops. But it's a dynamic market, and very, as you said, second highest positive feelings that we found in the study. So a lot of people would feel positive just like you.
So thank you to everyone who's been tuning in. So we have been talking for quite some time, and we've had a lot of people join us over the course of the conversation. So I'm wondering if we can take people back just a little bit, and would you mind telling everyone again, why do we study entrepreneurs? Why is it important?
Well, we study it because it's who we are, right? We've done this global entrepreneurship report for a number of years because we've had these beliefs, we've had these feelings, and we wanted to kind of find out and validate, is this just us, or are there really people around the world? And if they do feel this way, why? How can we dive into the depths of what drives it? And really, how can we foster more? Because we believe that the entrepreneurial spirit helps people live better lives. We believe that in Amway, but we also see it happen in the marketplace in other applications and in other ways. And it helps people live better lives by those who are creating, whether it's businesses or opportunities, but it also helps people live better lives by the services and the products that are offered by these entrepreneurs. That as technology comes, they think that things differently, and now our lives are different because these products are being brought to us. This very event, what we're doing, I'm glad that the Facebook folks were thinking about things like this, and that we would have technology like this to be able to talk around the world on a regular basis. So it improves lives for all of us in a variety of ways. So it made all the sense in the world for us to study it, for us to keep diving in deep about how people feel about it, how they see themselves participating in it, and how we can make it even stronger around the world and for years to come.
So for our Amway viewers, I would love to just give them a little Easter egg if we can. When you think about the founder's fundamentals, and we have had a very successful business for years, how are the fundamentals applicable to today's business environment? Isn't
it fun? I mean, I love the founder's fundamentals, and it's like they wrote them today for tomorrow. It's not like it's a historical document. Freedom. Of course. What does our report say? It says people are looking for freedom, for independence. They want to chart their own path. Those are timeless values that they've touched on. Family, we talked about next generation in Amway, and that being together. And again, what we've done in the Amway business more than many others, or any other in our industry, or more than many others in just the business space or the entrepreneurial space, has brought couples together and families together. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and when we had events at the house, as long as my siblings and the Vanandals, guess what we learned to do? Look somebody in the eye, smile, take their coat, get them a glass of water, a cup of coffee. What can we do for you? Open the door, greet them, get to know their name, simple sorts of things. Hope, there's so many challenges in the world, and if you watch the news and get stuck, you can be there and go, oh my goodness. But if you step back and you see the progress that we've made, the world has made progress. And I know, Bill Gates launched this, wrote a piece in the Wall Street Journal recently. I can't remember it exactly, but we have made huge progress against malnutrition in the world. We have, in recent years, brought more people out of poverty than has ever happened in previous similar time frames in the history of the world. Long way to go. Work's not done. But we've made huge advances. There's reason to be hopeful about our future, and that the problems we encounter today, whether they're personal, regional, or global, if we get together, we can overcome them. And then the last one is reward. We all want to be rewarded for work well done, and the rewards can come a variety of ways. Sometimes just a pat on the back. Sometimes it's a financial reward. Sometimes it's somebody just saying, well done, and cheering for you. There's so many things like that, but we all need that, because reward really is the interaction. I'm passionate, I'm going to do something, and I'm going to give of myself to do this cause or whatever it is, and then it's a way to keep that circle going. That when you do things, good things happen, so you can do more good things, and then maybe good things will happen, and you keep doing more good things, keep helping people, and let the cycle go. So the founders' fundamentals of freedom, family, hope, reward are as valid today and resonate as well today with the rising generation as they did for us in my generation, or for my dad and Jay and their generation.
Awesome. Well, one of my favorite things about working here is just the integrity that everyone that we work with has. And, sometimes ABOs have to answer difficult questions.
Sure.
And so one of the questions that we've just received from ABO is, how do I answer the question, what's the difference between Amway and a pyramid scheme?
Sure. Well, a lot.
Yeah.
Pyramids are illegal and they're bad. And everyone who operates something like that, or fraud, let's just call it fraud, is always going to try to identify themselves with someone else. And that's consistent around the world, and it's consistent in different industries. And so the biggest thing that we started about and talked about here is product. Look at the product. If you want to look at any company to determine if it's legitimate, are there real products and are they viable in the marketplace? So if we look at Nutrilite, it's the #1 selling brand of vitamins in the world. We have products. You look across our product range, just look at Google and look at Ada and look at the facility here, and just say, well, that's got to be something. It's real. We make products. Look at the products. Look at how the products are viewed. The second thing is to the consumer protections that are built in. It's low cost to join Amway. There's refund policies on our products. If you bought any materials, there's refund policies about training materials and things of that nature. Nobody should ever be hurt. And if somebody says, hey, I'm interested, and then something changes in their life, and they say, hey, I'm not, I want to back out, they get their money back. It happens all the time. That's okay. We celebrate that because we don't want anyone ever to be hurt in the Amway business. And so that's the second thing you would look for. What are the consumer protections that are built into the business, buyback policies on the product, or other sorts of things that they do, and even how much it's going to cost you to get into the first place. We keep the costs very, very low, and in many markets there's no cost at all. The third thing is that when you go a little bit deeper, and this is a little more technical, when you go into the compensation plan, the only way money is made in Amway is when product gets sold. That's it. Product has to get sold to a consumer, which generates the income through our compensation structure. But if that product doesn't get sold, there's no income that gets generated. You could sponsor 100 people, but if people aren't buying and selling product, nothing's going to happen. There's no income that's going to come from it. That's why in an earlier question we talked about the balance, and it starts with products and it starts with customers. And so those are some key elements. So if somebody's saying, oh, you don't have to sell, you might want to watch. Oh, don't worry about it. Just buy a large inventory. Ooh, that's not good. Happened. Seen a lot of that in history. Or yeah, it's a new product. Don't worry about the quality of it, but we're going to get better. That's a warning signal. So it's around the product. It's around the consumer protections that are built into the actual operations of the business itself. And when you look a little deeper, more technically, it's about that every bonus that's generated, or all the income generated, is only generated when a product gets sold. Those are the simple three things that we work off of.
Perfect. Well, friends, we have about 5 minutes left, so I do want to encourage you, if you have any questions, we're going to be accepting our last few questions now. And then, Doug, Brian from the U.S. met you at the New Platinum Conference, North American New Platinum Conference.
And how fun was that, Brian? We loved it. That's great. Yeah.
And he would like to know, can you talk a little bit, you've mentioned products a couple of times throughout this interview. Do you mind talking about the plans to launch new products, not only in the U.S. but globally?
Sure. Well, one of the fun things with the Amway business is there are so many product launches and so many new things happening that I can't keep track. But here's what I know. I know that we have teams of scientists, and I know we have teams of marketers that are always looking at the marketplace and finding out what are the opportunities, where can we improve, how can we make our products better, how can we do a better job of meeting the needs of the marketplace. And we have a consistent flow. It has always been in Amway's history to have a consistent flow of new or improved products that are hitting the market, so you always have the newest and are able to talk about what's happening and what's coming. So without getting specific about what category or what product may be coming at what time in the future, because I'd probably get it wrong, we'll have to rely on the Amway North America team to make those announcements and those communications. But it's been my experience in living in this business that our commitment to product remains strong and stronger than ever, and that our commitment, and Jay was always the one who talked about, we need to get new products at the marketplace. We have a wide range of products. We need to improve them. We need to continue to feed them into the marketplace, be innovative and creative. And there might be some that don't work so well. That's okay. We're going to learn about it, and we're going to adjust, and we'll be better next time. We can't be so fearful that we don't take innovation risks as a company. And so it's built into our DNA. And one of the things that we're doing here as well is speeding up that process. As we said, many times you can look at the product itself and see innovation, but what we do around here to get that product to market takes time and a process. What we've done here is really challenge ourselves to shrink that time frame so we can be more responsive to the marketplace and to you, to give you better products sooner. So that's also what we're working on here at Amway, and it's a lot of fun to see the teams do that. Just simple techniques that can take 20, 30, 50% of the time out of the product development process, from an idea actually having a product in the marketplace.
Well, I want to thank you on behalf of our employees, on behalf of our ABOs for joining me today, because I think, as you mentioned, Facebook Live is a fantastic opportunity for us to really connect with people, to answer questions and educate people about what we're doing, where we're going, and what we're most excited about in the business. So we've talked about entrepreneurship for an hour, and we could probably talk about it for 10. But is there one key takeaway that really stuck with you from this year's report? I know that our friends here on Facebook will be able to download the report in the comments below.
Sure. So
they'll be able to go through it and make their own, find their own passion points. But I would love if we could just close with you telling everybody, what was the one key takeaway that really inspired you from this year's report?
Well, the one key takeaway for me is the ongoing positive trend. The entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well in the marketplace, in the world. It shows itself in different ways, and it's being validated by new business opportunities that are becoming our way of life. And so the one takeaway is that the trend continues, that the momentum is building, that the direction of this is very clear. And the fact that we as Amway are in the middle of it, that we've been pioneers in this space, and that we continue to challenge ourselves to be the best operators in this space, and are looking always to improve. to be faster, to be better, and to meet the needs of the marketplace and to support the needs of ABOs around the world. Those are the things that are exciting to me, and to see it validated that the trends continue, that we have the highest ever positive attitudes that have been recorded as we've gone to more and more people and done more and more interviews with people around the world, that it's strong and the momentum's building. And so we'd like to build on that. And we're happy to, for other details, dig in and learn more as well.
That's right. Well, thank you very, very much. And thank you, friends, for joining us on Facebook. Again, last reminder, in the comments below, you'll be able to dive into the report and check out all of the things that Doug and I didn't have the opportunity to talk about this morning. But thank you.